Right. With this, we move to the next speaker for this segment. That's Mr. Saumil Mehta. He's Director and Country Head at Kraft Heinz India. He will be talking about a case for mindful leadership. Saumil has a vast experience of different corporate functions by undertaking 14 diverse roles in 17 years. He has been recently awarded with the most influential food industry professional by the renowned Asia Food Congress under the aegis of Work Marketing Congress and CMO Asia. Over to you, Saumil.
Thank you, everyone, for this August opportunity. Just I'm not able to figure out how do I share my presentation. So just give
there
me
must be an option in the panel below you where you can see chat, Q&A, share screen.
I'm trying to look at all the options, but I could not. So see, this is what, if you're not mindful, this happens to you. Yeah. So, I'm a living example. So I'm not able to figure out.
Do you want to share it?
I will put it on WhatsApp, Vrinda, and why don't you then, just keep on clicking it one at a time. Okay.
Definitely. You can share that with me.
I'm just doing it in like a minute now.
And maybe you can just, begin the conversation, and by the time.
Yeah, just give me a sec. First of all, I have to be mindful in the task right now of sharing this at least. That is what actually mindfulness is all about, that you be in that task. I've shared it on the group, Vrinda, if you can download it and, take it forward from there.
Sure. Allow me a moment. I'll just do that.
Sure.
And if you want, by the time you can start talking about this session.
Thank you, everyone, once again. Thank you, Sapan. Thank you, Vrinda, for this genuine opportunity. As a lot of speakers previously said, it's about, being a tribe. And I genuinely mean it because it's a very important tribe. Mindfulness as a concept is not, I would not say it's an alien concept. It's actually an Indian concept, which, what a lot of, our saints and, people in the past, in the history, in our mythology or anywhere you see, this is what, they practiced. And obviously, mindfulness is becoming more and more relevant because of so many distractions that we have today around the world. Distractions that are, 9.5 or 9.9 times out of 10 can be genuinely avoided. So here I am taking a case for mindful leadership. Click. It has two, words in it, mindful and leadership. I like to first of all try to decode both of them. I don't know whatever I'll be sharing right now, would that be anything greatly new? Nothing new in this. We all know what being mindful is all about through the course of the day. And all of us are practicing leaders in our own field of, expertise, interest, and, vocation. So that's I would say, a great merger or great amalgamation of two powerful words, mindful and leadership. Next slide, please. So let's first of all see to it how, what are some of the leadership challenges, are there. But before we do that, one of the, criticality or one of the essence of, mindfulness is not just only about external distractions. It's also about internal distractions. And it's about balancing both as the journey progresses. Having said that, some of the leadership challenges, let's discuss and let's see what are they. Can you click, please? So one of them is obviously the VUCA world. We all know this, all of us have gone through this terminology. But what are the beyond VUCA world, what is it that are, going to be the real challenges for the leadership roles, or leadership as I would say, as a concept, or for all of us as leaders, is going to be, click please. You can click, yeah. Fear, various fears, doubts, uncertainty, uncertainty, not just about self, not just about future, but uncertainty about everything that we do. We cannot be, gone are the days when our plans can be, hard coded, and we can guarantee success basis our plans. So there is fear, there is uncertainty, and can you click please? Most importantly, I term it personally as self-destruction, and this is something which is led by fake news, which is there around. We are all addicted to social media, and this social media is, creating this bubble, right or wrong, good or bad, fake or real, but it's creating a bubble that is not allowing us actually to move out of that bubble. It's actually constantly, like dragging us in through multiple, fake news or post truth, as they say. And we are constantly in the need to be in it rather than be in that moment that we are spending with a group or with an individual. That's where we are straddling. We are straddling between the actual requirement to be versus what we actually are getting dragged into subconsciously. And this is a deep rooted subconscious thing. That's where Katyayani spoke during her, speech, that it's going to be a journey. It's no more going to be something which one can, achieve overnight, because we are now so much deep rooted in some or all of these distractions that it's going to be, we are actually, as we speak, in a self-destruction mode. If we are going to get subsumed or consumed by this bubble that we are into it, and it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting for leadership. And as a leader, the challenge is not only for us to get out of it, it's also to take how we actually enable our team, our people also to, come out of this self-destruction mode, be more mindful, be in the moment, and deliver with productivity in that moment. And then, it has its own benefits. Next slide, please. So before we move into, mindfulness, these are some of the we all know what are the characteristics of a leader: authentic, honest, transparent, generous, compassionate, open, inspirational, trustworthy. The point is not to give you these adjectives or jargon. The point is, this is what is expected from a leader. This is what he has to demonstrate his characteristics. So a life of a leader, he or she, is pretty challenging at the onset itself, because this is what they have to be. This is what they have to bring to the table on a daily basis. And is it possible to do it on a daily basis? I mean, given the distractions, it's going to be challenging, but this is where, again, mindfulness might help us, all of us, to, deliver on the expected characteristics of a leader. Next, please. Competencies, yeah. After characteristics, these are the competencies, strong ethics, sense of safety, empowering, fostering connection, encouraging organizational learning, nurturing growth, and we can add on to these competencies. Now, just imagine if the list goes on and on and on, what is the complex life a leader is going to be living and leading? And you have to bring these characteristics to work, you have to bring these competencies to work, and click, please. And there are imperatives. What are the imperatives now? You have to be an empathetic leader. You have to be an inclusive leader. You have to manage performance as well. You have to be resilient and so a lot of imperatives also to deliver. So see the complexity, and this is not an exhaustive list. I mean, this list has the capability to run into books. This is what a leader's life is going to be. And mind you, this is not for us individual as leaders. This is what we have to also build in our team as well. Team can be 10, 20, 40, whatever the size we manage. But yes, we are expected to build that in our team as well, so that they progress efficiently. Can this be possible with all the distractions around? A lot of challenges. Click, please. So in short, what is leadership today is, it is the ability to lead in a complex condition. And we all will be. Complex condition is, there you maybe a decade or 2 or 3 back, there would be a one-off complex situation. Today, every second we are in complex situations. Simple. Nothing is going to be as simple as things, and complexity is going to increase as time will lapse. Challenges will increase with time being lapsing. So we have to not just be ready ourselves to lead in complex conditions, but also prepare future leaders who can also lead in complex conditions. So we have a dual fold task. I don't know, I am not up to date, honestly. I have been an MBA, but it was nearly 2 decades back. I don't know whether the current curriculum within the management schools also is capable of creating this sensitivity and creating leaders who can not themselves only handle complex conditions. In a strategy class, you might be given a complex business problem to solve or a case study to decode. You might be able to do that. But what is the missing variable there? Do it along with a team. Do it onto that team. Help that team also to deliver, become as good a leader as you are. So that's a very big missing variable. And in a real life setting, that is equally critical, equally pertinent as a leader. So that's on leadership, in terms of the world that we are as business leaders. Now, moving on to mindfulness, and a lot of speakers have spoken about mindfulness. Next slide, please. So I would not be spending much time. It's a straight up Oxford, dictionary translation or dictionary meaning, which says mindfulness is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and even bodily sensations. This is very critical. It is about the one powerful word in this entire definition, according to me, is accepting. We have to be accepting, because those feelings, those thoughts, those bodily sensations are not going to fade overnight. They will keep coming at you. They'll keep distracting you. How much more you accept them, okay, as they are, that's when you will be able to sort of maybe subsume them or bring them lower so that they don't distract you from staying in the present moment. The more you are non-accepting, actually, the antonym to non-accepting is actually an aversion. It's actually what you say is that if I don't accept you, when you say to somebody that I don't accept you, what you get into? You get into an argument, you get into dissidence, you get into debates. And that is where you distract yourself. But the moment you start accepting, that is where you actually calm yourself down. That is where you say that, okay, fine, I live with this, but I live with this after I have lived this moment with this individual or this team or this task. This is what the state of mindfulness is all about. Mindfulness factors, we all know the mindfulness. Awareness is the biggest factor. Awareness comprises of being alert and being focused. Being alert is nothing. It is the intensity of your awareness, and focus is singularity of awareness. So what is the intensity, of our awareness? And what is my previous speaker, Mr. Raj, when he narrated that beautiful anecdote about, his interaction with his daughter with the mobile phone in hand, he was definitely aware, but the intensity of alertness was definitely low. And that's when the daughter says that put the phone down. And the moment he put his phone down, the intensity of alertness goes up. The second thing is that he was also focused. It's not that he was not focused to what his daughter was saying. She was saying something and he was nodding, encouraging, applauding, whatever. But the focus was not, because the focus was not singular. The daughter was there and the smart gadget was there and the focus was divided. But the moment she says that quit that phone, the focus becomes singular. So this is what awareness is all about. High intensity on alertness and singularity of focus is what helps you. And this is required for self as well as for the external world, both. Click, please. And then attention. Yeah. So apart from awareness, the next factor for mindfulness is attention. How much more, attentive you are. Attention is actually connected to awareness. It's actually the longevity of awareness. To what duration you can hold on to that awareness, to that alert or focus on that singular task. I am talking to you right now. And this is, my phone might be ringing. I might be having messages on WhatsApp. I might be, getting my emails, or there might be something happening on Insta. To what extent I am able to be attentive here in the moment? I'm aware in this moment, how able I am able to regulate my internal distractions of my mind. Internal distractions can be, oh, there is an EMI coming up tomorrow. Do I have adequate bank balance to clear that EMI or not? The internal distraction can be, oh, I need to help my son with the homework in the evening. Or there can be external distractions with regards to social media or 10 other things. Am I able to hold on to it, being attentive over here with all you people out there, listening to what you are saying, speaking what I am speaking, engaging in conversations with all of you. That's what attention is all about. And the longevity of your awareness is what delivers that attention. And last but not the least important factor within mindfulness is acceptance. As I said, within the definition of mindfulness itself, according to me personally, the most powerful word is acceptance. You accept those distractions. And those distractions are a reason to, I would say, to go against them or not to accept them can actually stem from two facts. Just be on that slide, Vrinda, please, for a moment. That either we hate it, on that slide, on the previous slide, Vrinda. Previous slide, yeah. Or either we hate it or we are too attached with it. Acceptance is actually being neutral. Not in actually when you are in some, giving attention to something, being in a moment, don't even, show too attachment or even hatred or aversion to anything else. Just focus on that moment. So that's what acceptance, can you put it on slide mode, please? That's what acceptance is all about. When I say that, either it can be a deep sense of attachment or a deep sense of repulsion or aversion, both the intensity of that is what defines our involvement. It can be a love or it can be hate. The more intense the love or hatredness, the lesser the acceptance. So we have to reduce our intensity of involvement into our distractions. Hence, we will be able to achieve higher degree of acceptance. That's how, easier said, very, very tough to do. But that's what it actually means, that to what extent we are able to lessen the intensity of our involvement to something else and stay in the moment. And that's how we actually reach the acceptance stage. And that's how you move to mindfulness. So mindfulness allows us to be in crisp who we are in reality and give us strength to accept others as they are, everything else as they are. As Simon Sinek says, that our passion lies deep in who we are and not what we do. So, and who we are is something, there's one very good saying, it also defines in Hindi, which defines who we are. And not what we do, is that pran jaye, pran, pran aur prakriti saath mein jate hain. So, this is prakriti means our own nature, what we are. Okay, that goes with, when we depart this world. So it's not going to be easy to quit what we are, but it's definitely what mindfulness tries to do is that at least gives us the strength to accept and not get distracted with that. Now now let's combine, moving to the next slide. This is what mindfulness will do to all of us. It helps us see things clearly because we are accepting of everyone else around us, accepting our own limitations and distractions around us. It helps us think intentionally as well, in the right intent, I would say, and also act skillfully. When you can see things clearly and when you can think intentionally, that's where you act in a very skillful manner. And this is what can help leaders or leadership in general to optimize their output as well as their team's output as well. So, this is what mindfulness leads to. Now, next slide, please. Don't click, just click once. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So this is what the benefits of mindful leadership are all about. Click one, just once. It reduces rumination, thought process. It controls that. It reduces stress. Emotional reactivity, what I talked about, aversion or love. It's an emotional reaction, actually. It reduces that. And click, please. And it increasing working memory, it increases focus. We all talked about how it increases focus, how it increases cognitive flexibility and satisfaction in relationship. I would just again bring in the example that Raj gave about his daughter and that interaction. Look at the satisfaction in the relationship that would have happened the moment Raj would have put down his phone and given pure attention to his daughter. I think that's what mindfulness aspires to achieve. And and remember, even that is also a leadership setting because the daughter looks up to the father. So Raj, in a sense, is also a leader to his daughter, because it is his behavior, his thoughts, his actions that does a lot of becomes a lot of inspiration to his daughter as well. So that's a leadership setting, that's a mindful behavior, and that's what increases satisfaction in relationships as well. Next slide, please. But just click once. Yeah, that's it. Stay there. So here I am now. No, just go up. Just one click. Go up. Yeah, just one click. Just that. That's it. Stay there. Stay there. Okay. So here I'm going to introduce to a concept. The concept is something which, in my interaction with some of the people in this panel as well, and especially with Sapan as well, might not have a direct connection with mindfulness, but I found a very strong sense of, the word called acceptance, how I accept, things as they are. How do I drive acceptance within myself and towards everyone else? And that concept is nothing, I'm sure you have seen the word, it's vulnerability. Can you just click once? The concept of vulnerability, I have been introduced to this. I mean, none of us are, it's the concept is not a new concept, but personally, as a leadership imperative, I have been introduced to this concept of vulnerability just 2 weeks back. And I find a very strong correlation with mindfulness. Maybe practicing it will give me personally a lot of experience over a period of time. And then some other forums, I might be able to share whether it has actually worked it or not. The thing that I realized about vulnerability is that, and I would like to draw inference from sign language usage. So people who are not able to speak or listen, they use sign languages to communicate with each other. And most of the words might have 2 or more signs, to express them in the sign languages. So vulnerability has 2 interpretations or 2 ways of, expressing in sign language. I'm trying to show it to you once. I don't know whether it will work well or not. But one of the ways is to show things like this. Not like this, not like these 2 fingers straight. It's like this. The fingers are slightly, and like this. And it shows like this. It moves like this. This means vulnerability in sign language. What this actually also means, another meaning, is a person with a weak knee. Okay, a person with a weak knee or a vulnerable person. So that's one way to express vulnerability. But I don't like this way, because vulnerability doesn't mean I am weak-kneed. Okay, no, not at all. Vulnerability can be expressed in sign language in another form, which is this. This is the way of expressing vulnerability. So when somebody using sign language does this, means he or she is vulnerable. What this means is as being open-hearted, being open to people, which is also what acceptance is all about, that you accept, you also open your heart towards people, allow them to see your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, your pain points, and you also look at them, and both of us accept our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. And that's how we probably will be able to be more mindful about each other and achieve much better quality of relationships. I realized this practically a couple of days back when there was an outage on few of the social media platforms. Nice way, we talk of detox, but I think there is a message to some of these founders of social media, at least, that they should switch it off once in a while, so that, all of us can be relieved of those distractions and practice mindfulness without those distractions also being present. Thank you, everyone. You have been a fantastic audience. And thank you for the time, Sapan. I hope I have been a bit of helpful today towards driving the concept and its application of the word called mindfulness. Thank you, everyone.